Judge Sullivan is a train wreck, a total mess. They can't have Flynn free. He is effectively a political prisoner to a hijacked justice system, serving as a political tool for liberals to prosecute their political opponents right now. That's a fact. Let's get to the piece. Fox News, Greg Jarrett. I want you to read this. Again, be up in the show notes. The show notes are available if you go to Bongino.com/newsletter. You subscribe to the show notes here. It's free. Of course, we won't spam your inbox. I will email you these articles every day. This is also at BonginoReport.com. This is worth your time. Greg Jarrett, I know well, is a friend, who's a great lawyer, author of The Russia Hoax, another great book. Greg Jarrett, Flynn judge, talking about Sullivan, wrong to allow anti-Trump former Watergate prosecutors to interfere in the case? Yes, that's what's happening right now. The judge is allowing a bunch of leftist wacko groups to write up a bunch of op-eds to submit to the court so that the media can continue the political pressure to keep their political prisoner. The media loves this guy. Loves him in jail. They want him in jail, Mike Flynn, to keep the political pressure to keep Flynn a political prisoner. That's all that's going on. Let's go to the Greg Jarrett piece. There are 16 former Watergate prosecutors. These are all anti-Trump lunatics, by the way. I'll get back to the piece, who are now determined to insert themselves into the Flynn case, who just happen to be the same lawyers, minus one, who penned, get a load of this, a joint op-ed in the Washington Post on October 10th of 2019 headlined, "We investigated the Watergate scandal. We believe Trump should be impeached." Of course we know how that turned out. So just to be clear, crystal clear, 16 former Watergate prosecutors who wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post about how Trump needs to be impeached. Obviously anti-Trump. They obviously can't stand Donald Trump. These are the ones pushing for these briefs to be submitted to the court to delay the dismissal of a charge against Mike Flynn that the DOJ has already acknowledged, already in a signed public form we can all read, should have never been brought against Flynn. There was no predicate for the investigation. Done. End of story. Now, you may say to yourself, because I like to give you the ammunition to fight back against your liberal friends who are typically, I'm sorry, straightforward lunatics. Not all Democrats. Liberals are nuts. They're a fringe radical police state group who have their political prisoner right now in Mike Flynn, and they love it. They love it. They're police state tyrants. They're Soviets. That's it. My wife has forbidden me from using the Soviet national anthem. She hates it, even though yesterday's show did great. So I have to give it what do you think, a month before I can bring it back? What is the Paula timeline? She does. She has a lot of influence over the show. She was giving me this. Yes, she hates it so much. And we don't agree on everything. But you may say to yourself and your liberal Soviet friends, they may say, well, listen, the filing of amicus briefs in a case like this, that's nothing unusual. No big deal. It happens all the time, especially in this case, not unusual. Does it really? Because Greg Jarrett's a lawyer, so he writes this in the Fox News piece here. This is kind of curious. Because Sidney Powell, Mike Flynn's lawyer, also pointed out that Judge Sullivan actually rejected 24 previous attempts by parties to intervene in the Flynn case. He did? Wow, that's strange. Matter of fact, in one of his prior refusals, Judge Sullivan made this declarative statement. Quote, "The federal rules of criminal procedure do not provide for intervention by third parties in criminal cases. Options exist for a private citizen to express his views about matters of public interest, but the court's docket is not an available option." Yeah, that's it, libs. Keep your myth-making, fairy tale, storytelling, political prisoner thing going. No, this is totally normal in a criminal case. That's funny because Judge Sullivan himself said that's not even part of the federal rules of criminal procedure and that this isn't the place for it in a criminal court. Interesting how now it is. This judge is an embarrassment. He's disgraced himself in the room. Oh my gosh, we can't say that about you. What, really? So you're going to allow a federal judge to keep a political prisoner in the United States who was set up and framed by the government, a 3-star general, and we're all supposed to sit back and take it. Oh, we can't talk bad about judges. No, we're just going to allow them to politically imprison people. No big deal, folks. You understand what I just read, right? It's in Jarrett's piece. Screenshot it, read the piece. It's at the show notes today, and send it to your liberal friends and say, if this is legitimate, and this happens all the time, why did the judge say it's not legitimate and doesn't happen all the time? Matter of fact, it's not even part of the rules. Why would he do that? The answer is obvious to anyone who doesn't have a 6-foot thick skull coated in vibranium. This judge hates Mike Flynn, called him a traitor on the stand, and then had to apologize. He's an embarrassment to the bench, and he wants to make sure Mike Flynn doesn't get off in this case. If there's an easier, more convenient explanation for you, I'd love to hear it, because I'm just using the judge's own words as cited in Greg Jarrett's piece. What other reason does he have? Now, the great Jenna Ellis on Twitter, who I enjoy her tweets a lot. I think I follow her, I'm pretty sure. Tweeted this out yesterday. And, I use screen caps of tweets rarely, but when they really kind of sum it up, she's at Jenna Ellis ESQ, an attorney herself, obviously, given the end of her Twitter handle. She says, Flynn facts. So it was a malicious prosecution by the Obama administration and the FBI. They concealed Brady material. They coerced a guilty plea out of Flynn. It was shown that he had ineffective assistance of counsel. This was an independent review, by the way, by the Attorney General and an Assistant United States Attorney, AUSA. And the prosecution the government made a motion to dismiss. This is a trial court. There is literally no reason for amicus briefs except political reasons. None. This man is a political prisoner who was framed by his government, and a judge on the bench will not let it go. Listen, this audience, we had a big night last night. We're measuring our monthly audience in the multi-millions now, thanks to you. I don't say that for a self-praise moment. I say that because we can move the needle on this show. But we're not the be-all, end-all. We're not. There are bigger audiences on some cable news programs. I need people on cable news programs who believe in the right thing to pick this story up and run with it today, because this is an embarrassment. And this judge deserves no respect because he doesn't respect you, and he doesn't respect the Constitution, and he doesn't respect the rule of law. Folks, it's time to start dancing. I'm sorry. End the story. Period. Full stop. Don't let the one guy dance alone. Flynn right now, sadly, is dancing alone with his lawyer. It is time for all of us to back this guy. All of us. This is absurd. You may say, well, what can we do? Fair enough. Call your congressman. Oh, Dan, that doesn't do anything. You know what? It does, folks. Believe me, it does. Your congressmen are not going to be able to get this judge fired, but maybe they'll go out and speak out about it. We have to, understand the fight going on here. I know you may think that's useless. I get it. I understand. Sadly, most of your congressmen and women are useless. I don't disagree. But understand what the left is doing. The left are submitting this briefs to Sullivan. Judge Sullivan, this judge who's now embarrassed himself. They're submitting these briefs in the hope of getting a story out there to the media to build political pressure, which matters, to keep Flynn in jail. The only way to counter that political pressure is to create political pressure of your own by telling the truth, the story, not a story. And the way to do that is to pressure your political representatives to follow up and say, listen, you have oversight. The courts are funded by what's the deal here?
You just heard the Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud, and follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at DBongino.